Колеги, доброго ранку. Український кризовий
Dear colleagues, good morning. Ukrainian Crisis Media Center starts its working day, and we offer the floor to the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine spokesperson Oksana Gavrilyuk, and then we will listen to Andriy Zadubinnyi, ATO spokesman. Good morning to everyone. The Ministry of Defense of Ukraine continue reforms focused on conversion of the armed forces of Ukraine into high professional and well-equipped army. So far, the Ministry of Defense and Armed Forces of Ukraine, along with the foreign experts and advisors, have elaborated the main provisions of reforms in the Ministry of Defense and the General Staff according to the NATO standards. The logistic support of the armed forces of Ukraine is brought into compliance with the state-of-the-art requirements. So far, the Ministry of Defense has approved the general provisions of the logistic doctrine of the armed forces of Ukraine. The logistic doctrine of the armed forces of Ukraine will ensure efficient and high-quality set of subsistence support to the armed forces, both in peaceful time and in a special period. And the new logistic system of the armed forces of Ukraine will be consistent with the NATO standards. Today at 1:00 p.m. in the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine premises, the Ministry of Defense Army General Stepan Partarak will meet the commanders of the armed forces of Ukraine brigades. The panelists will discuss new models of uniforms and rations. The journalists are invited to cover this event. The event will start at 12:30 p.m. near the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine. All the journalists are invited. The accreditation procedure is available at the Ministry of Defense website. The work continues on provision of housing to the military servicemen and their families. In 2015, Ukrainian military men received 658 flats in the cities of Odessa, Dnipropetrovsk, Khmelnytskyi, Rivne, Boryspil, Mykolaiv, Vasilkiv, as well as in Lviv, Kiev, Rivne, Zhytomyr and Odessa region. From the funds of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, 186 ATO participants received apartments, including 27 wounded in action military men. Besides that, in 2015, the apartments were received by 94 families of the military men who died during the ATO. The instruction on organizing provision of armed forces of Ukraine members with housing have been approved by the Commission on Control of Provision of Housing in Armed Forces of Ukraine garrisons. The new standards of medical supplies has been implemented. So far, the administration of President of Ukraine has been submitted the draft decree on military medical doctrine of Ukraine approved by the Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine at the end of last year. The implementation of medical, psychological and social rehabilitation of ATO participants is ongoing. It covers about 6,500 persons. The three military medical institutions in Kiev, Zaporizhia, and Mariupol hold the pilot project Electronic Health, which will ensure the opportunity to maintain electronic medical cards of the military servicemen. The medical institutions of the army have received artificial lungs ventilation devices. In 2015, the medicines and products of medical purpose were received to complete individual medical kits for the amount of 37 million hryvnias. With the help of these products, over 53,000 medical kits have been formed. Now, 77 military men of the armed forces of Ukraine undergo medical treatment in the medical institutions of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine. They were wounded in action during ATO operation. 25 ATO participants undergo medical treatment abroad, including 14 of them in Germany, 7 in the USA, 3 in Lithuania, and 1 in Poland. 80 military men of the armed forces of Ukraine undergo rehabilitation in the resort institutions of the Defense Ministry. A total of 1,943 ATO participants underwent rehabilitation in 2014. The epidemic situation among the staff of the armed forces of Ukraine is estimated as satisfactory and stable as a result of timely immunization. The vaccinated military men have developed strong immunity against influenza. Besides that, there is no death caused by influenza in the armed forces of Ukraine. Payments of death compensations to the families of military men of the armed forces continues. 1,135,000,000 hryvnias of one-time monetary compensations have been paid so far. Good morning. We are giving you the floor to provide us with information on dynamics of hostilities in ATO zone in the last 3 days. Unfortunately, in the ATO area, the militants of illegal military formations continue their armed provocations. Their goal is the only one: to provoke Ukrainian armed forces to respond them with fire in order to blame Ukrainian army in violations of the ceasefire. On January 19th, the militants continued to fire on our positions using the armed small arms, mortars, grenade launchers, and armored weaponry. The situation was not calm in Donetsk direction. The militants used small arms and grenade launchers and fired on our strongholds near Marienka, Pisky, Avdiivka, and Butovka mine. In Mariupol direction, the situation aggravated in Shirokino. The enemy fired from mortars, grenade launchers, and small arms on our soldiers. In the district of Svetlodar salient, the militants used small arms and fired on Novgorodsk and Zaitsev. On January 20th, the situation was tense near Donetsk airport. The enemy opened fire on Ukrainian positions near Pisky. The stronghold of ATO forces near Opitne came under fire of grenade launchers. and near Butivka mine, the mortar worked in Mariupol direction. Ukrainian soldiers near Vodene came upon fire from mortar and grenade launcher. On January 21st, the situation was not calm. The most cases of violation of ceasefire were near Donetsk airport. The grenade launchers, heavy machine guns, and small arms were used near Piske, Opitne, and Butivka mine. Today, the situation in the ATO area dramatically aggravated. This night, the Russian-backed militants fired on our positions using the arms prohibited by the Minsk agreement. They used grenade launchers, heavy machine guns, and small arms to fire on Piske, Opitne, Krasnogorivka, and Mariinka. The situation was not calm in Svetlodarsk salient, where our soldiers have strongholds near Troitsk and Zaitsevo, and they came under fire from heavy machine guns. And near Mayorsk, hostile grenade launcher worked. In Mariupol direction, the militants worked and fired from mortars, anti-tank missile set. They fired on Talakivka, and near Starognativka, the enemy used 120 millimeters mortar. In Lugansk direction, the enemy used automatic grenade launcher. There were 69 cases of ceasefire violation during the previous day, and during the period from 19th to 21st of January, the ceasefire was violated 115 times. Despite so many provocations, Ukrainian troops continue to adhere to the ceasefire agreements, and they respond and return fire only when there is a direct threat to the life and health of civilians or manpower of ATO Ukrainian forces. However, the enemy do not respond to Ukrainian army and leaders' messages to stop provocations, and the enemy plans subversive activities on Ukrainian territory. On January 19, the Special Operations Forces of the Armed Forces of Ukraine near the town of Shastya found a cache in a house, abandoned house at the bank of Zimovne Lake. There were grenades F1, RPG-26, cartridges 5.45 and 6.62, landmines MON-50, and a mobile telephone in that cache. The Armed Forces of Ukraine continues to provide assistance to local citizens who experience difficult situation as a result of the hostilities. So far, that's all. Thank you, Mr. Andriy. Thank you, Ms. Oksana. We will have the next your briefing on Tuesday, and our next briefing will take place at 11:30. Thank you.